There's a video going around the internet the past couple of days. There's this gentleman speaking to an economic forum, and he's talking about unemployment. And he says unemployment is too low. And he talks about how workers feel like they can get away with anything. He says workers are arrogant. They feel that their companies owe them rather than they owe their companies. And we need to change that. We need unemployment to double. We need hard times. We need economic hard times so that these employees are put in their place. And this guy actually said this out loud on video that the employees need to be put in their place. They're too arrogant. It's crazy, but it's also a prevalent idea. It's also really, really lazy leadership. It's like that autocratic leadership that you have to have people in fear and you have to beat them into submission in order to get productivity out of them. And it's very old thinking. And I was thinking, comparing this to going over the transcripts. So I'm in that part of the Rising Leader Handbook where I'm taking the transcripts from the podcast and all the interviews that I've done with some of these amazing people, and I'm taking excerpts and putting them in the book to support some of the things that I'm talking about in the book, some of the leadership skills. And if I can give you some real world comparisons to people who actually implemented it, I think it has a little more weight. And as I'm going through transcript after transcript after transcript, with Beth Pearlman, with Larry Quinlan, who is a CIO of Deloitte, with Tom Mendoza, president of NetApp, all these amazing leaders who have accomplished just so much. There's a common denominator with all of them. One of them is they all run towards a fire. They were all people who picked up whatever jobs other people didn't want to do and went and did those and did them well in order to move forward. But to a person, every single person, Tom Mendoza, Larry Quinlan, Beth Pearlman, every single person. Mark C. Crowley wrote the book Leading from the Heart, which I kind of rolled my eyes at, even though I'm a heart-led guy. And then, talking to him, he said, if Mark Crowley said, if you ask people about me, even though I wrote the book Leading from the Heart, and that's what I care about, if you asked people what it was like working for me, he would say, I was the most demanding boss they ever had. He says the secret is I could be demanding of them because they knew I cared about them. And when I talked to Larry Quinlan, he says, everything that I have. One was because of the help of other people who were willing to help me, peers, people who I worked for were willing to help me, but it was my team. My team always carried me. My team always got the job done. Even when I wasn't in the room, the team got the job done because he says, even though I'm an introvert and I thought I wasn't a people person, he says, I realized I cared about people. I cared about the people who worked for me. So they cared about me. They cared about our mission. Person after person after person was talked about. Tom Mendoza, again, the quintessential leader that I worked for, and I talked about him over and over and over again on this podcast. The president of the company would call people out of the blue to catch someone doing something right. He would ask them about their personal life, and he had thousands of employees, right? The common denominator for all these leaders who crushed it was that he cared about they cared about their people, so their people cared about them. So if you have that tendency for that autocratic, people should, and you're complaining about your people that they should be a certain way, check how you're showing up. With Kim Scott, we talk about radical candor. Kim talks about keeping your caring, your empathy high, but also your candor, your feedback, your forthrightness also high. I was just talking to a client who is having some difficult feedback conversations with one of the people who works for him. And when he found out that the person's mentor had already given him some of the feedback and the guy cried, that was a clue to me that yes, the tough conversation still needs to happen, but the empathy level that my client needs to bring to that conversation needs to be through the roof, because the guy already gets it. He already gets that he's failing. Now, if the guy didn't and he's being arrogant about it and he's pushing back, then we can lower the empathy level, and we can bring that relentless forthrightness to crack through if they're worth it, right? That kind of thing. But the only way to gain trust is for people to know they care about you, that you care about them. That's, Tom Mendoza says that all the time. People don't won't care until they know you care. So check yourself. And when was the last time you had a conversation that was other than business? That's one. I work with Enneagram types all the time, so personality types, and so I'm an Enneagram 2. I'm the happy helper, so my caring quotient is always high. But an 8 who is a driver, or a 3 who is an achiever, they would forget that caring part and that connection needs to be there, because it's just not part of their psyche. They get things done, and you want a 3 and an 8 in your life, because someone like me, you need those people to get things done. So when I'm coaching a 3 or an 8 or a 5 who's a more analytical type, I always ask them, so what 3 people have you had conversations or coffee or lunch with this week that you didn't talk about work, that you found out about their family, their health situation, how they're doing? And so I just did that with someone this week who's really, really analytical, and he came back and he says, yeah, not only did we connect and I learned more about them, I got honest feedback that I can use to improve processes in the company. I wouldn't have gotten that business feedback had I not had that connection. So up your caring, up your empathy. Uh, Again, I will quote Kim Scott in Radical Candor. That does not mean you can't be tough. Mark Crowley, Lead from the Heart, doesn't mean he wasn't the most demanding boss anybody's ever had. They just got to know that you're in the boat with them, that you care about them, and we'll drive that home over and over and over again. I care about you. I appreciate you. Couldn't do this without you. I love you a ton. Have a great rest of the day.